with that, and then what we want to do is get enough information today to be able to convince a homeowner that we know what we're talking about. That's about it.
Well, yeah, okay. Especially on the Eichlers where they're usually open beam inside, right?
Right,
so.
Exactly. And so we'll discuss that today. And really, so pretty much what we're trying to do today is just to get enough information so that when we're, there's 3 of us that are selling. And that when we get those leads, right now we just avoid them. So now we want to be able to start getting in there and that we can make enough sense. I'd like to get a couple sold first, sure. So that I've got pictures of the actual installation, and maybe a testimony from a client. Now that would be very good, valuable information for Don to know how much labor should he be allotting.
Right.
Absolutely. And what is the going rate for the installation? That'd be great.
Right. I mean, the material costs, what the squares are. You're going to add the square costs.
And what should we add as in general for overlap? And that is something would be useful for us if we want to hit that right now.
Well, I always use the 6% as far as waste factor.
Okay.
6 to 10% is what I always have. Okay. On TPO. The overlaps are like 6-inch overlaps. Right. Your material is going to come out on a mechanically fastened system. You're going to have a 5-inch overlap, no matter what. So it's already accounted into the weld. Right. Right. Then you're going to have a 3-inch weld. You're going to have an area for 3 inches to weld. On a fully adhered system, you're only going to have 3-inch overlap. You're just going to weld it
because it's all glued down.
It's all glued down.
Right.
So you stretch it back out.
Right.
But on head laps or on the end laps, it's going to be 4 to 6 inches.
So if we figured a 10%, when we're out estimating, we're going to measure the roof, we're going to add 10%, and that should cover us.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm paying these guys around $70 a square.
Install complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now we're like 55 or something for a regular 3-ply.
Right.
And there's a little bit more details to this. It's actually, the field's so much easier, but the details are harder.
Yeah.
They're as far as a 3-ply.
Right. They're a little slower.
Right. Correct.
So.
I mean, I don't know what the going rate is out there, but I kind of asked some people around, and that was about what they were paying their installers, was about $70 a square.
Right. And most people I deal with a man day. They deal with how much it costs per man day.
Right. Right.
So like a union shop for me was $500 per man per day. That's what it cost me.
Right. Exactly.
But that was a shop cost.
That was everything, burden and everything.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All you do with the union guys, you take $56 an hour times it by 8.
Right.
That's their man day rate.
Right. Whereas, of course, in that figure, we don't have our tax contributions. We don't have our insurance contributions. So obviously, it's well over $100.
You do it by the square, is what you're doing.
And it ends up well over $100.
Right.
In reality, what it's costing us.
I think that when you're doing like an ISO, polyiso install, mechanically fastened, one guy can do 20 squares easy a day.
Wow.
Should be able to fasten it down 20 squares.
That's if you have a auto feeding machine.
No, that's just screwing it down to the deck. The ISO.
Just by hand.
By hand.
We're going to be dealing with foam roofs that are already foamed, they're leaking.
Okay. That's
a problem. In fact, the more I see of that, I'm starting to realize that could be a good market for us because 20 years ago, the Armstrongs and everybody and their brother was doing foam. I know 30 years ago. A lot of guys got involved in it and they lost their shirts and they didn't know what they were doing and stuff. So, but Armstrong has kind of stayed with it over the years, but it's really died off. And so I'm thinking that and again, this is just conjecture, but from what I'm seeing that I'm running into already with a little bit of canvassing, that there's foam roofs out there that are 20 years old and are leaking.
Yeah.
So
on the foam roof,
yes,
you could do one of two things. You could tear it off and get rid of it and get back down to the substrate.
How hard is that?
It's very hard.
Yeah.
Well, you saw it. They did it right here.
It comes off in
I wasn't paying attention.
It comes off in little chunks like this.
Right.
It's a huge cleanup mess. it's not hard to actually get it off the roof because you don't have, it's light.
So is everybody with me? Okay, we have to go, we're gonna go step by step here. Is everybody following me? We are on an Eichler home, okay, a low, almost flat, low slope to flat. There's that white foam stuff on top of the roof, okay? Do we want to be tearing these foam roofs off?
Well, I think you give the option.
Okay, what do you recommend?
I always recommend tearing off because then you get to see the deck.
Good point.
And you don't
repair damage, repairing type of damages that might be. But that's a selling point.
How long does it take to? I mean, these aren't big roofs.
Well, it comes off in chunks. It's a heck of a cleanup.
Right.
It really is.
But it's not. Doesn't take a long time to tear it off.
No.
It's just a lot of cleanup.
Yeah.
And you don't.
And
you would put the insulator board right back over the top, so it's not something that has to be like.
Right.
I mean, it can't have high chunks like that, but it doesn't have to be spick and span clean.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to get it clean because it sticks to the deck.
Right. It's glued.
It's all glued. Yeah.
And the only savior is if they sprayed it over a cap sheet.
Ah.
And if they sprayed it over a cap sheet roof, then you can just get to the cap sheet.
And it sounds like a lot of the guys didn't do that.
No.
Yeah.
They'll spray it right over.
Right.
But.